It's kind of like jerking off. 2 to 3 times is fun, but 25 to 30 times is a problem. And honestly, you shouldn't even be enjoying it at that point. I once had a betta fish that died and came back to life 3 days later. That betta fish was Tony Ferguson. I would never say that Tony Ferguson and Dracula are the same person, but I would point out that nobody's seen Tony Ferguson and Dracula in the same room together. It's the UFC 256 review, and I've somehow managed to finish, almost all of my whiskey before we're even starting. So here we go. For me, this card was like on Viagra. Every time you thought the fun was over, we just kept going. Junior Dos Santos versus Cyril Gane. I don't want to take anything away from Gane's performance, but in retrospect, this ended up being the least exciting fight on the card. However, I will say that this was probably the best looking fight of the evening. Just two sweaty mocha daddies going at it in the octagon. Also, Sweaty Mocha Daddies is the name of the escort business that I'm starting up. Please DM me and let me know if you want to get on the mailing list. Kevin Holland versus Jacare Souza. Kevin Holland, what a brilliant, psychotic beast of a competitor. Kevin Holland is like that kid in class who was really, really smart, but also had severe ADHD. Either he was going to go on to cure cancer or he was going to be the next Unabomber. But that's okay though. For me, he's just proof that the ones that are a little unhinged are the best. At least, that's what I like to tell the guys that date me. Mackenzie Dern versus Vida Janjidoba. I didn't realize, but Dern actually has the highest submission attempt average out of all active fighters, which is kind of crazy because she seems like, the sweetest, most innocent person you'll ever meet. If she wasn't a fighter, she'd be a kindergarten teacher. And you can't really say that about anybody else in this sport, except for maybe, Colby Covington, the Bambi of mixed martial arts. And then Vida, I'm pretty sure she has more muscle, in her one bicep than I do in my entire body, and that hurts. In their fight, we had an eye poke and a broken nose. Both of them were practically blind by the third round. Just like two little Stevie Wonders out there trying their best. Dern asked her coach, if her nose was broken. And he was like, no, you look fine, you look great. Meanwhile, she's drowning in a river of her own nose blood. But I get it though, you don't want to psych her out. It's like when a friend of yours gets a shit haircut and they ask you how it looks, you tell them that it looks great, but in the back of your mind, you're wondering if their barber has glaucoma. Tony Ferguson versus Charles Oliveira. Tony Ferguson is... When Winston Churchill said, "It is a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma," he was referring to Tony Ferguson. I once had a betta fish that died and came back to life 3 days later. That betta fish was Tony Ferguson. I would never say that Tony Ferguson and Dracula are the same person, but I would point out that nobody's seen Tony Ferguson and Dracula in the same room together. That guy and his pain tolerance are just not of this earth. At one point, Oliveira had Tony's arm stretched from Las Vegas into Buffalo, New York, and Tony didn't tap. By the way, shout out to Oliveira for dyeing his hair before the fight so we could tell the two of them apart. And I'm woman enough to admit that Oliveira's slim, shady Guy Fieri hair was kind of a turn on. He could take me to 8 Mile or he could take me to Flavortown, and I'd be down for either. Once again, the translator is somehow missing right after the fight. So you just have people, yelling in different languages like some hellish Epcot tour on steroids. Oliveira, right after the fight, put on those glasses and what looked like, like a camera around his neck. It's like, I gotta fight Ferguson at midnight, but then hit the group tour at the Hoover Dam at 1 a.m. But it's okay though. Honestly, after that performance, you could throw on a snowsuit and a dashiki if you wanted to, and nobody can say anything to you. Devison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno. I don't even know where to begin. Figueiredo was in the hospital with a stomach infection 24 hours before the fight began. Only a non-Caucasian could pull that off. That is just not white people shit. We don't have the facilities for such endeavors. I'll call out after a bad hangover. Meanwhile, this man's intestines were trying to kill him, and he showed up for the fight like he was in peak physical condition. Then you have Brandon Moreno, whose body apparently was manufactured by Lockheed Martin. His chin is no doubt a military-grade weapon. He could be kidnapped by Russia or China if he's not careful. I don't know, man. Mexicans are just a different breed entirely. That's why you have, 15 of them working behind the scenes of every successful business venture in this country. Half of you morons want to get rid of them, build the wall. What? If you want to control immigration, let's build a wall around Canada. They're nice, but they're pointless. How about we build a wall around Idaho? When was the last time that you met someone from Idaho, and they were useful? Never. Mexicans just have a skill set and an aura that is simply unmatched. And Brandon Moreno is testament to that fact. There was the cup shot heard round the world. Moreno took a kick to the nuts, and there was a very loud crack. Now, in my experience, balls are very soft, but I don't know. Perhaps his are made out of the same material as his chin. I'm hoping what we heard was the sound of his cup breaking, and not his chances of having any children in the future. And when it was over, Figueiredo had to go back to the hospital from which he came. Honestly, the UFC should sponsor a wing at Desert Palm Hospital and name it Figueiredo vs. Moreno. Not only to honor their performance, but also for the amount of money both fighters will be spending there in medical bills after this fight. As a quick side note, I just want to say that I really missed Rogan. I was happy to have him back. However, if he used the term SLOBBERKNOCKER one more time, I was going to crack my Proper 12 bottle and gouge it into my ear hole. You gotta switch up your shtick, dude. It's kind of like jerking off. 2 to 3 times is fun, but 25 to 30 times is a problem. And honestly, you shouldn't even be enjoying it at that point. On that note, I think it's going to be a wrap for me. We'll see you back here next week for the Wonder Boy fight. But until next time, the twins and I love you and we send you our best.
Whoa!